In The Great Gatsby, Tom, Gatsby, and Daisy always choose to lie to themselves and each other instead of telling the truth in the first place. But why do they do this? They choose to lie because they feel that it will protect them or the ones that they love in the long run, but as we all know, it usually ends badly. In Gatsby's case, he lies to himself about his love for Daisy. He's been lying to himself ever since he met her as a teenager and fell in love with her. He fabricated this amazing future for them throughout his whole life, when in reality, she had already moved on from him. He clung to the moments they shared and lived in the past because to him the past was just on hold and it would resume once Daisy realized how wealthy he'd be. Nick, Gatsby's neighbor and Daisy's cousin, describes Gatsby's love for Daisy by saying that he had intended probably to take what he could and go, but now he found himself committed to the following of a grail. He was married to her, that was all. Nick is literally comparing Daisy to a grail, meaning that it's something that is sought after and desired by so many people. So in essence, Daisy is Gatsby's holy grail. He thinks that having her will save him and give him his life's purpose, when in reality, we all know that that's not true. When Gatsby realizes that Daisy isn't who he thought she was, he really doesn't know what to do with himself. He spent most of his life perfecting his house and his parties and himself just so that Daisy would like him, and he even went so far as to buy the house across from the river just so he could be close to her and keep an eye on her. But in the end, she was never really his, and even if he didn't realize it, he was just trying to protect himself from heartbreak by imagining that someday they would eventually be together. Another example of characters lying to themselves or each other is when Daisy lies about her love for Tom and Gatsby. Daisy and Gatsby fell in love when they were teenagers, but they couldn't be together because Gatsby went off to fight in the war. However, he always clung to the idea that they would be together, and he never lost his feelings for her. Daisy, on the other hand, ends up marrying Tom Buchanan. She repressed all her feelings for Gatsby and forgot all about him until she meets him again at Nick Carraway's house. When she sees him, all her feelings come rushing back and she forgets about her marriage to Tom. They end up having an affair for a couple months, and even though she doesn't tell Tom, she doesn't really hide it that well either. Tom is assured that they're having an affair when they're all together in New York, and he sees a glance between Daisy and Gatsby that can only be described as full of love. Tom becomes very angry and starts a fight while Daisy is just trying to explain that she didn't want to hurt either of them. She loves both Tom and Gatsby and could never choose between them. During this whole fight, Gatsby is trying to get Daisy to admit that she never loved Tom, much to Tom's dismay. But eventually, she says that it's not true. She says, "I did love him once, but I loved you too. Even alone, I can't say I never loved Tom. It wouldn't be true." She's just trying to protect both of them by saying that she loves them both, but in the end, she only hurts Gatsby by admitting that she still loves Tom. He just wants her to be his own, but eventually he knows that that will never happen. She furthers Gatsby's pain by choosing to stay with Tom in the end instead of being with Gatsby. By protecting them both, she only caused pain in the end, even if she didn't mean to. The third example of lying is when Gatsby tries to cover up for Daisy's mistake. They go home in the same car after the New York fight, but Daisy ends up convincing Gatsby that her driving home will calm her down, even though she's extremely upset and can't even focus. While Daisy is driving home, Tom's mistress, Myrtle, runs into the middle of the road because she sees the car and thinks that it's Tom and Daisy and wants to give them a piece of her mind. Daisy ends up running Myrtle over and instantly killing her, but she doesn't stop. She keeps going. Gatsby is willing to take the fall for Daisy, and when they get back home, Nick asks Gatsby who was driving. He says Daisy is, but he's going to take the fall for her. He says, "Yes, but of course I'll say I was. When we left New York, she was very nervous. It happened in an instant." He's willing to take the fall for Daisy because he's so in love with her and it blinds him. He wants to do everything he can to protect her, even if it means taking the fall for killing someone. Meanwhile, Tom is driving home, and when he sees all the commotion on the side of the road, he stops to see what's going on. When he learns that Myrtle's been killed, he's obviously upset, but he's even more upset when he finds out what type of car it was. He knows that it's Gatsby's, and he tells this to Myrtle's husband, George. Tom didn't know that Daisy was actually the one driving the car, so Gatsby taking the fall for her and Daisy not telling Tom the truth is what leads Tom to tipping off George Wilson. George eventually goes to Gatsby's house after finding him and kills him. Essentially, Gatsby's choices and his undying love for Daisy is what kills him in the end. He succeeds in protecting her with his lie, but it costs him his life, so was it really worth it? Although Tom, Daisy, and Gatsby all feel that lying to themselves and each other will spare everyone pain in the end and be better, it usually isn't. Gatsby lying to himself about Daisy's love for him ended in heartbreak. Daisy lying about her love for both men ended in Tom and Gatsby's anger and pain. And Gatsby lying about who was driving the car ended in his death. So although they all had good intentions, it usually didn't go how they expected it to or how they wanted it to. So my question is lying ever justifiable, or should you always tell the truth?